All right, folks, we got Anthony Meindl here. I don't even know how to introduce him because he wears many, many hats, man. I'm going to call you Tony if that's okay,
fine,
right?
That's of course.
He's been a screenwriter, a director, an actor, author now. Written a really, really interesting book, and we'll get to the book. It's not really an acting book. I thought it was an acting book. I browsed through it, and it's a lot more than just an acting book. Love the stuff. I will read this book complete cover to cover.
You didn't want to read it at first because you thought it was an acting.
But I thought I'm not an actor. It's not an
No, I know.
You're going to tell me more. Well worth it. There's some really great stuff in there. We have him here today as author of this book and an acting teacher. A little history about you. You came from New York, right?
I was working in New York as an actor, and then I came out here 12 years ago, and I was working and I was getting jobs, but I started working with actors at the same time, and I found that the stuff how I was working with actors became more interesting than going out for auditions for myself. I found it more interesting, and the studio just kept growing and growing and growing until it's become what it's become. So along the way, I started a theater company and I was directing, and so my interests started to change and expand.
This was all still in New York.
No, this was out here. Yeah.
You came here as an actor from New
I
York.
came here as an actor.
And then started your theater company and
we had a lot of success. So I just kind of kept feeling like, I just felt like my skills really lie with getting actors to get to places they never thought they could get to. And it's interesting because the book talks a little bit about this, just the science behind creativity. And I didn't know this at the time because when I first started teaching, the way I work with actors was all based on non-memorization. And I found that when actors were not memorizing, they were more available to the moment in a deeply instinctual, responsive, spontaneous way. Now, 10 years later, there's all this brain research out that has proven that when we memorize things through memorization, there's a part of our brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex that gets turned on, and that's the inhibitor part of you. And so it's so exciting, I feel like, what we're doing at the studio, because all these things that I've been teaching for so long now have science to back it up. Okay, and I didn't know I was a scientist. I started reading Einstein, and I started reading like Einstein for Dummies, and I was still too dumb to understand that.
So you're right, there is a whole science behind creativity. It's not just crazy people.
No, absolutely. And how to optimally, tap into that.
Yeah.
Like I help break myths about the business, which we can talk about, the business, and about why some people make it and some people don't, and why we hold ourselves back because we compare ourselves to what we think, a Meryl Streep looks like, and we don't think we have that. Everybody has that. Like, it's been proven scientifically. Yeah. We all have an inner genius, We all have an inner Einstein.
You gotta find
it. Yeah, you gotta find it. And there is science, and it's not like a head trip. You don't have to be a scientist to understand it. It's about really connecting in a really creative way to open up that potential. It's like a seed.
I see you really do teach this and believe it, because the one thing that struck me about your book is it's not a cover to cover read. It's a 15-week read.
Yeah.
14 or 15-week read. You do little projects and little work to do at the end of each chapter, and then the next week you do something else, and it's pretty interesting to stay with this instead of just reading it and trying to memorize what's in there.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's memorizing it, actually doing it and making it a lifestyle more than reading an acting book and going, okay, what does Anthony have to say about acting?
Right. Or like, what is the scene objective?
Yeah.
Or I really don't talk about acting at all.
There's one
chapter that talks about character, but I want people to understand character through themselves. That's like.
So then so you're here, you got a theater company, you start helping other actors, and you figure out you're good at this teaching thing and this coaching thing.
Yes.
You decided lay back on the acting as an actor yourself and do more of this?
I was working. Like my commercial agent still today is like.
Oh yeah, you got a long list of commercials and stuff you've
calling
done.
me and telling me like, will you come back? And I had tested for a lead in the pilot like 10 years. Like I was doing really well. Like I think I continued on my path. It was an Aaron Spelling pilot. Rest in peace. I know he's no longer around, but that's like.
What is
that's
that?
dating me. No. This was like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Like it was just it was a spin-off. I think it was called All Souls. I don't remember. But anyway, like I was doing really well. I found that I wasn't fulfilled in booking acting jobs anymore. Like it wasn't satisfying enough for me.
Really?
Yeah. Like I felt like I didn't want to just show up, hit my marks, and say the lines. Like that wasn't the end product. This is the thing. The end product was not interesting to me. Like watching myself or seeing the finished thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting to me is this process and figuring it out
and getting the job and breaking it down
figuring
and
it all out. But but even less for me and more of like every actor is different and every person I meet is different and trying to figure out how do you click and why are you holding yourself back and how do we release that? Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. 'Cause I shoot headshots for actors now, and
same thing, right? Getting them.
The shooting process I hate. It's the interviewing them before, figuring out what they are, what type they are, and then the post-production work on the picture. You know, all that I like a lot more than just the shooting part.
But don't you find like maybe even in the shooting part, if somebody is restrained and not and
working with them,
like trying to
that's
get them
the fun part.
released, that's
absolutely.
like it, you know.
So, when did you start your acting studio then?
So it was like 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
And
so 13 years.
You got other teachers there?
Oh my God, yeah. There's like 9 teachers now. We have a school in New York now. We're opening a
I
school.
know, you're all over. You're in
we're
Melbourne,
opening a school
you're
in London.
London.
Next month we're opening a school in London. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. And it's more a...
We're taking over the world.
Yeah, it's more a life philosophy as opposed to
For
an
sure.
acting philosophy.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah.
So you've seen this business change.
Yes.
From the time
Oh my gosh.
you were an actor, you were auditioning. Some of the changes we've seen have been more technological. You know, we started when it was days of film, and you remember your headshots were black and white,
Right.
and you know you're not that old, but you know
I have one.
yeah,
I'm sure.
black and white,
We
and
all
then the
have those headshots.
composites, and now we've seen stuff go digital and color, and now there's online costing, and it's not, you know, the breakdown services are online and actors access, and now we're seeing auditions going digital. We just started doing auditions where casting directors are asking for the auditions to be taped and then emailed to them or put on a website or a link attached the audition to them. So a little bit, what have you seen so much with technology and acting change? Some things for the better, some things for the worse.
Yeah.
Your opinion, your take on this?
Well, I think, you know, the positive is that it's like the Wild West out there, right? I mean, I guess that's the positive and the negative. It's the positive is the Wild West. So I think that there are more opportunities for people to find their way in non-traditional routes, you know. Yes, today.
Yes,
yeah, for
I
sure,
agree, yeah.
right? But then I also think that it's like a double-edged sword because it's the Wild West. There's also such a bombardment of content and stuff that you can't. I still feel like, you know, interesting things kind of rise to the surface, you know, find their way. But I think sometimes, just like actors, there's so many now, which is a good thing. That I think it's created more opportunities for more people, but it's also, you got to really be specific about who you are, what is your type, what do you have that, you know, is different than somebody else. Because I think because of everybody can just go shoot their own stuff now and YouTube and everybody can become an actor now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
the
branding.
threshold to get it's a lot lower.
Yeah, for sure. You can be on a reality show, like a reality show, just because you have a cafe.
Yeah.
You run your own cafe, and then they want to make a reality show about it, and then all of a sudden they parlay that into an acting career. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like, look at there's a lot of reality stars I think some have tried and some are successful in translating into acting. So I don't, you know, it's interesting. Like I'm more of a traditionalist. Like I'm more interested in like film. I still really am interested in film.
Okay, I was gonna ask you that.
Like I don't watch web stuff. I don't really. For some reason I'm just.
Yeah, I'm not
younger
in that.
Kids probably
the
do.
younger ones do.
They
I mean,
do.
my kids do not watch television. Everything is watched on a computer.
Oh my gosh, or their phone.
Or their phone.
Yeah.
Everything. You know, they have a TV, but it's streamed. You know, I mean.
Right.
So, we come from that time that a good show. You know, if it wasn't a network, it was a big show.
Yeah, you want to watch it.
And I'm still looking at, you know, is this on ABC or NBC? You know, my kids don't know ABC, NBC, CBS. A TV channel is a TV channel for them. So you're right, there's just so many. And also, we've interviewed a few people who are making their own projects, doing their own, you know, with the digital technology they're doing. And I got that same feeling. This is like the early days of the studios here. We're trying to figure out how they're going to monetize this, how they're going to monetize the web series, but there's an opportunity for everyone to work and do their own thing and make their own projects. What do you think about people doing their own projects?
Well, I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
Like I think, you know, for actors who don't have a reel or don't have really anything to show people yet what they're capable of doing, you gotta generate something. I mean, I think it's important for sure. I'm always going to be an advocate for class. You got to get into a class because it's like, you know, my comparison is brain surgeons do not just start cutting people's heads open because they declare that they want to be a brain surgeon.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? They
But
need
actors-
training.
actors
It's
go,
not
"I'm an
just do
actor."
that. But I think
Yeah.
it's because actors get scared. They're like, oh, I'm gonna have to confront myself and really deal with my feelings and really get. It's, you know, to me, it's an exploration of self. It's not escaping who you are to be somebody else. You're figuring yourself
Figuring
out
out who you are.
through the material, right? So that's scary for people, but it's exciting, and that's the real reason to act. You know, I think actually that just made me think of. I think nowadays is kind of sad because I think a lot of well-known actors, many of whom I work with, many of whom have been on series or done certain projects where they feel like what's being asked of them anymore is not acting. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really can be sort of a soul saddening experience because you want to have these really amazing, uplifting, inspiring, scary, creative journeys
Performances
through
and-
storytelling,
yeah,
but
yeah.
then you end up getting a job that say the line like that, or you know what I mean? I'm thinking of a few actors who
Okay.
told me this, who are like leads on their own series. Like it's hard.
And they get typecast as one character.
get-
They're
I mean,
playing the
it's-
same character week after week. There's a security and a beauty about the job and the paycheck that's
But
coming
then-
from it, but then there's nothing. You're not playing a different character. You're not. I've got some customers who prefer doing independent films and movies because 3 months, 4
course.
months, they're done with that project.
And
They
then
move
they're
on to another
exploring something
character.
else. Yeah.
You know, but there's pros and cons, I guess. I mean, there's a financial
sure.
stability to being on a show and doing that, but creatively, it may not be the greatest thing.
Or maybe you do what you just said, like you in the downtime or when you're on hiatus, you really
Do
go
your own
and
projects. Or,
be in class and
Yeah.
really, or you know, go do your own project, or you know. But I was going to say something about doing your own projects. I have found what I think is really interesting too, though, is like I think let's say if you're a newer actor and you've got to get a reel together and you go shoot something with some friends. I think all that is really great, and yet I have found that you know what I really respect about agents and managers is that they still really care about, you know, the good ones. I think most of them really care about seeing talent. And so sometimes like an actor will send me their reel and I'm thinking, it's, you know, they look good on camera, they're attractive, they're fun, whatever, but it doesn't really show what they can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a challenge is you've gotta, they don't just want to see these little 30-second little sound bites of you being,
Okay.
you know what I mean? They want to see people act. So that they have something that they can get excited about. And I think that's also the challenge is you may do a web series, but it shows that you can be quirky and weird, but
Can you act?
can you act?
So how does an actor get material like this to show on a reel? Can you do it in an acting class? Can you do
For
it
sure,
in a
yeah.
scene study?
Yeah, for sure. Like maybe, you know, I've had people at the studio who, you know, they've really connected with their partners and they're doing some really exciting, scary stuff. And then they're like, I actually just saw somebody yesterday at the studio and I was like, what are you doing here today? She's
Let's
like, we're going to
take
go shoot something. Yeah.
And they need direction. They need somebody
They're
to tell
having one
them,
of the teachers
because they're-
direct them.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to have somebody outside.
Somebody
like,
outside doing it.
you're in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit more with the traditional. They all should be in some kind of coaching, right? I mean, they at least practice your skills, hone your skills, be in touch with like-minded people, other actors, see what's going on.
A
Just
community,
a
you know? I think that's important.
We're in pilot season right now, so just starting
Not
pilot
ready
season.
to, right?
Okay. Which is a crazy time in this town. I mean, everyone's here, big dreams. Everyone's trying to make a pilot, sell a pilot, get cast in a pilot. Your thoughts on pilot season? How should an aspiring actor, like which is most of our audience, some advice for them on getting ready for pilot season, how to tackle pilot season, how to tackle auditions.
Well, I think first they should get the
Yes,
book.
get your book. Absolutely. No,
I'm kidding.
we've got
No,
your
I'm
book
kidding.
up there.
That was like a shameless plug
Yeah.
right
No,
there.
no.
Okay. No.
Absolutely.
No, because I don't really talk about pilots. On there,
You
but
don't.
Like, no, but I mean, okay. If you know, I think the thing is this is maybe the big picture is one pilot season does not, you know, a career make, and so I think actors need to relax about it. Sometimes I have found, and sometimes a lot, that actors put so much pressure
They're
on
desperate.
having to book. Yes. That there's that quality, like they are so desperate, like need me, want me,
Yeah.
you know, and he cast me, you know, and that never works. But also they just they get really tight, and you know what, it will unfold as it should, and so it's all about timing, and it's about the right, you know, role for the right, you know, your essence matches the role. Yes, that doesn't mean you don't hustle and you don't, you know, I think if you have an agent or a manager, they're going to do everything that they can do to get you seen and get you out. And I think you have to, again, trust that it's really, I think the acting process and auditioning is not personal. If you are right for a role, you're going to get called in. And then it's really about, does your essence match the role? And there's nothing you can do. If you have longer hair and I have blonde hair and they are fixated on blondes for some reason, I'm going to get the job over you, not because I'm more talented. You can't personalize it. You can't beat yourself up and say, I'm awful or I must be missing something.
And that's important because it's a business full of rejection. I mean, it's just, you get hit every day, every time.
For sure.
And it's a numbers game. You're going to go on so many auditions and you're going to book very few of them.
That's totally it.
You've got to learn how to handle this rejection. You don't get a pilot this season.
There's next year.
Come back.
Or you never know how
the
it
summertime,
unfolds.
or the fall season. In your acting school, you obviously do teach them auditioning techniques and how to audition. Big difference between auditioning and doing a scene?
Well, it's funny you say that because I don't.
You don't believe
No.
Okay.
I have one student.
I've had other people. That's why I want your take on it.
No, acting is acting is acting.
Okay.
It's like, acting is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not acting. It's just being.
Being who you are.
Yes, it's listening and reacting. That's all it is. And I think that's actually one of the great mistakes, I think, of acting training is that, I'm thinking of a well-known actor. I won't say who she is, but when she had come to me, she was getting really bad feedback in the room. Like she wasn't booking any jobs.
When she was auditioning?
Yes.
Okay.
And she was already pretty well known.
I see.
But she was not booking anything. And she took the intro class and then she continued in the ongoing classes, right? But in that time, we never discussed auditioning per se. I'm just getting, again, to me, it's the science of the moment. I'm getting actors to get more released and available to the moment. And the moment governs now. It governs in an audition room. It governs scene study. It governs your life when you're at Trader Joe's. It governs when you get into a car accident and how you deal with these things. So for me, it's all about receptivity to the moment and how available you are.
But you can teach that, though.
Of course, the science, of course, is getting present.
Yeah.
And I think we're entering a really amazing age where the conversations about consciousness and presence and these things have become a part of everyday talk now, meditation. And so I think we're really stepping into an exciting time of understanding who we are beyond the left brain. And I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, for me, teaching artists of all kinds, it's like, how do you get out of the left brain that tells you you're fat or you're ugly or you're stupid or you're not talented enough or this or that? And that part keeps you from being fully expressed now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can minimize that noise. When you develop a different muscle that can overtake that, we will always still have that running record, right?
Yeah.
But it will stop stopping you. It will no longer hold you back from saying and doing what you want to do.
Like you were talking before, there's the signal versus noise. There's a blog I was reading.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of clutter. There's a lot of noise. We're getting a lot of information every day. A lot of distraction.
Yeah.
And actors get that. There's a lot. I mean, I remember when I started in this business as a photographer in a lab, there were maybe half a dozen TV channels, and now we got like 600 of them, and they're just non-stop.
I mean, I talk about that. The very first chapter of the book is, that's been proven again scientifically. Like we're suffering from cultural ADHD because we're so plugged into our phones that we don't realize we're doing it out of habit and we distract ourselves. And I take it further to explore when do you reach for your phone when you start to feel stuff that you don't want to feel or you don't want to be with something.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do it to distract yourself from what's really going on, just even taking a breath into what's going on. Or it's funny to me, when I am driving and I stop at a light, I don't see people just, oh God, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, they pick up their phone.
Why do I have to see what's the breaking news on CNN right now? There is no breaking news. It's like, what?
Or did somebody tweet me, or did I miss a call?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm like that. I'm not saying I haven't mastered or anything. I just try to be aware of, why am I here as well when here's really where it's happening. It's not happening digitally. I'm not actually having an experience through the phone. I mean, that's the other thing. We keep reaching for the phone to have more experience. No experiences come through that. It's this. It's like another human being through touch and feeling and loving and expressing and laughing. It's this.
And this is what I love about your book. Folks, his
Sorry,
book
I'm
is,
getting really like crazy
no,
and
no, no,
passionate.
no.
That's how I go.
Anthony's book is more about this than it is about acting.
Yeah, no,
it's
for sure.
about being in the moment, living, knowing who you are, how things affect you. For an actor, that's important to know your type and your cast and what casting is good for you, and
Yes.
so you're not all over the place, right?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And like what I teach is that we're interested in you. That's all we're interested in. You know, in my 20s, I use myself a lot as examples, but in my 20s, I was constantly, A, I was running away from who I was, and B, I was running away from who I was by trying to be other people that I
Sure.
thought were cooler or more attractive or whatever. You know, so, and especially in my acting. So I would try to be Tom Hanks being this character. And then I realized as I've gotten older, we're only interested in who somebody is. Yeah. I'm interested in you and your story and how you've gotten here. And that's the thing with acting. Like, you are sharing yourself through character. It's not the character's story, it's your story.
Through that character.
Through the character. Character only comes alive. You know, Tilda Swinton says it's all autobiography. And Tilda Swinton is like considered, such a transformative character actress. And here she says it's all autobiography. It's all you. So it's all the roles you're playing are going to, and Ryan Gosling says the same thing, it's all you. It's going to exercise and extract and evoke all these different parts of you. And that's scary and it's exciting and it's a journey and it's...
But it gets expressed through that character.
Exactly, yeah. To me, it's so simple. It's like, come on, acting is really not that. If you can understand that, which you do, and you're not even an actor, then the real work is, though, exploring the parts that the role is evoking in you that you don't want to look at. Like, so maybe you're having to get really, you're getting in touch with some really big feeling, or maybe the violent part of who you are because the role is asking for that, or the sexual part, and we have so many, again, the left brain stuff, we have so many judgments about those things, so we repress them and suppress them and shut them down and we're scared of them. But to me, the real great actors are just, they don't have it figured out. I mean, that's one of the myths that I teach is I think we see, my saying is like, we compare the opening night, or like look at the Golden Globe Awards or the Academy Award nominations to yours and my dress rehearsal or our just schlumpy day. You know what I mean? But that's not fair because you're seeing sort of this photographic illusion there. We're comparing our day-to-day struggles with this finished picture. Well, this finished picture is not real. It's just not real.
Okay.
To get there, those people, and the honest ones, are talking about how they struggle and figure it out as they move forward.
Yeah.
So I think that's really liberating to know that, when we're hard on ourselves, that doesn't make you any less worthy. It actually makes you just as interesting as anybody else who's come before you, but you got to embrace that.
So as an acting coach, the biggest thing is be yourself.
That's it.
Figure out who you are first.
You got to figure that out.
You got to figure that out.
That's
and be emotionally really honest with yourself.
Yeah. That's hard.
It is.
We don't want to be emotionally honest in life, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I teach, sorry, I was going to say, I tell actors, like, what we're asking them to do at our studio is be more honest in their work than they allow themselves to be in their life. Which is like, what?
Very cool. Great stuff, folks. Great stuff in this book. Couple things about your school.
Yes.
The one in Los Angeles. We're
Yes.
doing this here. Roughly how many students?
Oh, God.
Coming and going? A lot.
Like 450.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. Almost maybe 500 now.
Classes all day long.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It's
It's like a church. It's amazing. It's like this amazing
Excellent.
community of like inspired
Yeah,
artists.
I hear about you from a lot of my clients. From a lot
I'm
of
so
them.
glad. We have fun. I mean, you gotta
And
have
that's
fun.
what we do over here is have a lot of fun with it. So
It's not acting.
yeah.
Oh.
We do go through that with headshots over here where they go, it's just your headshot, dude.
Yeah,
It's
just
one tool.
we're not curing
It's
cancer,
one tool,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
like,
Don't
smile and click.
Can you take this flyaway hair away? It's not gonna. Don't worry
Oh
about
my
it.
God! Yeah, I'm sure you see it all.
Oh yeah,
meltdowns
Oh,
and my
completely.
makeup and
I
like.
have to have this picture yesterday.
Yes.
It's like you don't.
But Jay, I think it's too. I think they probably people feel vulnerable in front of the camera. So see, it brings up their stuff. It's the same thing, right?
Got it.
They feel exposed. They want to make sure it looks good. And then controls start to instead of just let me get through this. Yeah, letting it go.
Figure out who you are, how important it is. Do the training. So now you're opening up all over.
We have a school in New York as well. I have an
Okay.
amazing teacher there who's
Do you
studied
go
with me.
back and forth?
I go to New York every 3 months.
Okay.
And like I said, we're opening a school in London in February, and I go to Sydney and Melbourne. I'm gonna go in the spring.
Any words of wisdom, advice for these kids going out during pilot season?
You know, I think have fun. Like, don't be scared to you can't. Don't try to make it be the be all and end all of your career, because it's just not. It's like one audition or one pilot does not a career make, and if you can just try to breathe and step outside of it and trust that it's all unfolding, you're gonna have a lot more fun.
Very cool. Anthony, thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you
It was
so much,
awesome.
man.
And
Folks,
of course, everybody should
at
come
Left
here
Brain,
and get their
Turn Right.
photography
I love-
needs fulfilled.
I love the title of the book, and it's a cool read. It's one of these books you'll keep by your bedside, and every now and then pick it up and read a chapter, read a
dog
few
ear it
pages.
and
Yeah.
highlight it. Okay.
And it's not something you'll just finish and put it down.
I hope so.
Great meeting
okay,
you.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'll see you later this
Okay.
afternoon. man.
Yes, you're going to
Yep.
come in the studio.
Wonderful,
Okay.
man. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.